Hello everybody, it is Brian for GadgetUnit.com, and in this video I'll be bringing you my unboxing as well as my first impressions of the Samsung Galaxy S4 Active. Now I will be doing a full pro style review of this phone in about 3 weeks from now, so definitely stay tuned for that. It's going to be quite nice, I think. So I have reviewed the regular Galaxy S4 in the past, and kind of a spoiler before I get into the rest of the video, I do prefer the Active over the normal Galaxy S4. But first, let's do the unboxing. This is going to be quick because this just uses standard sort of generic AT&T packaging. Although on the front of the box we do see the phone itself in blue. This is the blue model. It's also available in a gray, and I saw pictures of a red version as well, but on AT&T's website that is not being offered at the moment. So on this side, we just get some information about the IMEI number. Here we have the AT&T logo, and let's go ahead and get into the box. And this side gives you the package content. So of course we do get the phone itself. I'm going to go over that in a second, so I'm not going to read that off. Here it just gives you some, so it says, "We hope you love your new Galaxy S4 Active." It gives you a URL to go check out some tutorials. Here we have a quick start guide, which gives you some info about the features. Here we have the phone itself. Obviously, I have been using this because it's on. There it is. Looks quite nice. In the rest of the packaging, we have some more documentation. A pamphlet that tells you about some Samsung features, a health and safety and warranty guide. And that's it in terms of documentation. In terms of accessories, we have a USB cable as well as a wall charger. It's a bit large, but no headphones included with this phone, unfortunately. And let's take a closer look at the phone itself. Now, I will be doing a lot of comparisons, comparing this and the Galaxy S4, the regular version. So first impressions, the phone itself is a bit larger than the Galaxy S4, so if the S4 was already a little bit difficult for you to hold, this is going to be worse, definitely. It's a little bit heavier, which I like. I like having weight in my smartphone, just to make it gives myself better peace of mind that I know what I'm holding in my hand, because if the phone's too light, sometimes I forget I'm holding it, so I don't give it as much grip, if that makes sense. The buttons, I've noticed, are much clickier. Maybe you could hear them on the mic. So the thing with the Galaxy S4 is that the buttons to me felt a bit mushy. They didn't have any sort of real feedback to them, so the buttons on the S4 Active are much better in my opinion. Speaking of the buttons, obviously at the bottom you do have 3 physical buttons as opposed to a physical home button and 2 touch sensitive buttons for back and menu. Of course, on the front you do have your 5-inch TFT display with a resolution of 1080 by 1920. So this is not an AMOLED display like the regular Galaxy S4, but this means that you're not going to get as vivid of colors. The screen still gets plenty bright, and from what I understand, the screen should be much better to use in direct sunlight. I'll have to test that out myself soon. But yeah, the Galaxy S4, it had a horrible display when it comes to using it outdoors. The phone itself is waterproof and dust resistant. That's one of the main takeaways from this device, is its water resistance. And one of the things that it has is a aqua mode for the camera, which allows you to take better photos while underwater. And I'm not going to lie, I did take this into the shower earlier. It was kind of funny, but it was just kind of fun, I guess. I don't know. Think of that whatever you'd like. But I did test out the water protection abilities, and when I took off the back cover, I did notice some moisture just around the edges. If I take off the back cover, you'll actually see that the back cover features a little gasket, and you can see where that gasket seats itself on the back of the phone itself. So that really prevents water from getting into the internals, the more important stuff that you actually need to protect. Since we're looking here we have the battery. I don't have the exact capacity of it. The phone's on. I don't want to turn it off and take the battery out. I wish they would have placed the milliamp hour information on the back of the battery itself. But since we do have the back cover off, we have the speaker down at the bottom left, micro SD card slot, micro SIM tray, your 8 megapixel camera, the S4's camera, The normal X4 is actually 13 megapixels, so there is a reduction there, and you have the LED flash right below it. So there are several points of contact that keep the back cover properly seated. Oops, let me go ahead and turn it off. So lots of contact points to keep the back cover properly enclosed onto the phone itself. Let me talk about design real quick. I like the Galaxy S4's design, but I think this, obviously it looks more rugged. You have sort of these rubberized areas at the top and the bottom of the phone. The back cover, it looks more brushed metal than the back covers on the black and the white Galaxy S4, so I do think that this phone overall is a bit more attractive. The front of the phone is like the Black Mist Galaxy S4, so that's kind of nice. I don't know if they're going to have a white front model available, but I don't think they will. On the left side, we do have our volume rocker. It has sort of a rugged texture to it, so you can better feel it and get a grip on it. At the top, we have our 3.5mm headset jack, noise cancellation microphone, our IR blaster for the remote control feature. On the right side, we do have a power button, also with a sort of a texture on it. And at the bottom, we have another noise cancellation microphone and a covered port for your USB port. In terms of software, well, first the specs. It has 2 gigabytes of RAM, a Snapdragon 600 Pro. No, it's not a Pro. It's a Snapdragon 600 processor at 1.9 gigahertz, quad core, of course. One thing that I forgot to mention when I was going over these bottom buttons is that I do prefer having physical buttons for everything as opposed to just one home button and touch-sensitive back and menu keys. To me, that gives me better feedback when pressing it. Sometimes I actually miss the touch-sensitive buttons. Sometimes I want to do something and I'm looking away or whatever, and having these physical buttons are nice. It's nice to be able to get physical feedback when you're actually pressing the buttons. The buttons themselves feel nice. They feel just like the power and the volume rockers. You get a nice feedback when you press the buttons, so I do like having these physical buttons at the bottom. As I mentioned earlier, the display on the Active isn't as vivid in terms of colors and saturation as the original Galaxy S4, but I mean, it still looks good. The thing about AMOLED displays is that sometimes it oversaturates the photos. The Galaxy S4, I think, was the most neutral in terms of that. The Galaxy S3 was more saturated and all that stuff. So the TFT display on this really isn't that bad. The viewing angles are still fantastic. I really need to go ahead and test this out outdoors. Lots of bloatware installed, as you can tell. Fortunately, you're able to hide these applications, and a lot of these can actually be disabled within the settings application itself. So that was my unboxing and overview and first impressions of the Samsung Galaxy S4 Active. This is a exclusive to AT&T. I don't like exclusives. To me, that's a bit anti-consumer. The phone's not going to be able to get into as many people's hands when you have an exclusive deal like this, but that's the path that they chose, so they're going to have to accept whatever comes from that. But that's it with this video. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions about this or anything else, feel free to leave those down below in the comments area. But that is it with this video. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll talk to you all very soon.